Hey everybody, this is Off Leash with Erik Prince. I'm Mark Serrano. There's been evidently election integrity problems in the nation of Venezuela once again. Erik, you've been outspoken about Venezuela and the recent elections there, particularly on your Twitter account at Real Erik D Prince. What people I think don't realize is 9 days, 10 days later after this sham election, there's still uncalm and unrest in the streets of Venezuela. Fill us in a little bit about how we got here through this election, why countries around the world, including the United States, has challenged the election results and why, and where you see this going from here.
Well, this is a sad case of you can vote in socialism, and unfortunately, you have to almost shoot your way out of it. The left elected Hugo Chavez years ago, and when he died, it passed off to this guy Maduro, Nicolas Maduro, and Maduro has stolen 2 elections previously where clearly the opposition has won, and Maduro just stays in power and claims that they won, and employs very thuggish tactics of secret police and intelligence and military to crush any opposition. In this case, the opposition got together already last December, and with actual active resistance by the government, they did a primary, and a woman named Maria Corina Machado won. She's in her 50s. She's a civil engineer, mother of 2 kids, and a real libertarian, pro-free market person. And the government banned her from running with some complete nonsense charges. They made it impossible for her to campaign. If she went to a restaurant, the tax police would close the restaurant the next day. If she went to a hotel, the tax police would close the hotel the next day. Literally made it impossible for her to move anywhere. Couldn't leave the country. And so another guy ran, a kind of a grandfatherly figure, as kind of the surrogate for her. And he won overwhelmingly with like 70% of the vote versus 30 for Maduro. And of course, Maduro announces that he has won the race, or won the election by 51%, complete falsification of the numbers, and the unrest has started again. So this is the 3rd election in a row that he's stolen. I think the people have reached their limit, and there was a lot of calls to free Venezuela. And the amazing thing is there's already an arrest warrant by the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, in the United States against Maduro for drug trafficking, $15 million bounty. And so between him and a few of the other gang that run that country, a narco gang, I posted that if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris really want to support freedom and election integrity in Venezuela, they should up the bounties on each of those wanted figures to $100 million and sit back and let the magic happen. And apparently that responded quite well in Venezuela, because I have been direct messaged by thousands and thousands of Venezuelans asking to please come and rid them of this problem dictator. And I guess we got in his head, because Maduro also was denouncing Elon Musk and me by name. So I'm happy to get in their head, and I hope the Biden administration makes maximum pressure on that government to knock it off and to step away. Important to note that Chevron Oil, American company, has their sanctions waiver, and they are pumping oil like crazy, making money off of Venezuela, off a government that literally stole an election again, and now is in the process of arresting, beating, torturing thousands of its citizens just for wanting to be free and to have an actual valid election. So not sure how it's going to end up. I hope it does not end up in a civil war there, but I think the people are really exasperated and expect better, and actually, frankly, deserve better. All the neighbors are concerned, although Colombia, governed by a leftist, Brazil, governed by a leftist, have been they haven't denounced the election yet, but they haven't really said anything. But at least the United States has come very squarely on the fact that with effectively the receipts from the machines that show what the actual numbers were and how badly Maduro was defeated at the ballot box. But again, he is backed up and enabled by Russian forces. The Russians just sent a training vessel that pulled into Venezuelan harbors. They're backed up by the Cubans. When the Cubans were largely sponsored by the Soviet Union during the Cold War, when the Cold War ended, the Cubans went looking for another host they could attach to like a tick. And sure enough, they've done that to Venezuela. And so all the energy needs of Cuba are provided pretty much for free by Venezuela. So there's a lot of Cuban advisors. There's, of course, airplanes landing with lots of Cuban security and intelligence personnel coming in to bolster and surround, because Maduro needs Cubans protecting him, because he doesn't even have the confidence in his own Venezuelan security people anymore, which is exactly why I said up the bounties, and maybe the security people around him will do the right thing and arrest him and send him on his way to America for a long retirement in a federal prison.
He's not a very good dictator with an outcome like this, where he actually lost 67 to 70% of the votes, and then, of course, had to fake the outcome. Mathematicians studied the outcome, and they determined that this specific outcome, with 51% of the vote going to Maduro, had through simulations that they ran, had 1 in 100 million chance of happening. So it seems like the international community, other than, as you note, Russia, Cuba, and others, is fairly unanimous that this was a completely rigged election. What does this mean, though? How can we count on the international community sort of winning out here and Maduro getting kicked out of office? It doesn't. He controls the military. It doesn't seem like there's much chance.
Look, it's not an armed populace. There's no Second Amendment, where to serve as that check on government power. If Maduro won with his 100 million to 1 chances, maybe he needs to play the lottery, or maybe somebody needs to pull his ticket. But stay tuned in Venezuela, because maybe the swift sword of justice is coming. Who knows from where?
So, but let's not overlook the fact that the U.S. basically set this up. They lifted sanctions against Venezuela so long as there would be a free and fair election. Let's talk a little bit about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's role in this this election outcome in Venezuela.
Yes, they did. And certainly a lot of Democrat-related hedge funds are making a lot of money off of selling that crude. And of course, Chevron, headquartered in, I think, San Francisco. So that money and lobbyists are certainly pressing into Washington, lobbying the administration to do nothing, to ignore actual democracy in Venezuela. And the problem is Venezuelan money has also been corrupting a lot of the other politics around Latin America. It's very much like organized like the Communist International, spreading money and very leftist socialist ideas, and they have ruined the economy. There's, I think, 8 million people have left Venezuela as refugees, and so if this level of insanity is allowed to continue, you can expect millions and millions more Venezuelans will be fleeing their homeland, coming to America as illegal migrants. So maybe it's something that the administration is pursuing actively to maximize more people that voted for socialism, sadly.
So, Eric, exit question on this topic. It's now been revealed. We've been talking for months and months. You have indicated and you've informed off-leash viewers about how Venezuela has served as basically Grand Central Station for migrants, illegal migrants coming from the Middle East with credentials and shipped up to the southern border. Now, there is evidence in major cities such as Chicago, Denver, where Venezuelan gangs are not only organized, but taking over entire city blocks. This is the consequence of Biden-Harris policies, not only with regard to Venezuela, but with regard to our southern border. And now we're seeing proof that Venezuelan gangs are wreaking havoc in American cities. Exiting on this, Erik, how can new policies in Venezuela and our southern border spin this thing around?
Sure. There was tens of thousands of Iranians and other Middle Easterners flew to Venezuela, pick up Venezuelan documents, and march northward. Yes, and Maduro also opened his prisons, sent his murderers and rapists and thieves. So he doesn't have to store them anymore. Now they're free to predate on American citizens. So yeah, this is a mess. And so Venezuela needs to get its actual democratic representative legs underneath it again, and they need to fix that sinking ship. And the first step to do that is to remove the Maduro cartel, a drug gang, from power. They need to work hand in hand with a Trump administration to deport or incarcerate or put down drug gangs, which are going to do a lot of bad things in American cities if they're allowed to do so.
Ending on this, with Maduro still in power, we've got to cut off their oil shipments and apply sanctions, correct?
Yes, but they've gotten very smart at evading those sanctions, and they sell that crude to China, or they mix it, they blend it with Iranian crude. There's all kinds of nonsense that they've done. They've gotten very good at being criminal. And so it's time to step up all sorts of pressure against this regime. Otherwise, they're going to kill their way to success.
Look, powerful dynamics. We need a change in leadership in the U.S. for these things to change in the near term. That's it for this segment of Off Leash with Erik Prince. I'm Mark Serrano. Until next time.